O'Shea has won a lot of golden guitars, 16, and 2 of those he won this year for his song South East Queensland and its video, and that was no surprise to me at all. The last time Luke won a golden guitar for a video was actually last year for Long Way Round with Ashleigh Dallas, and he is now reunited with Ashleigh for the single Next Best Thing, which is also the title of his forthcoming album. So I have a bit to ask him about. Hi, Luke.
Hi, Soph. How you going, mate?
I'm very well, thank you, and it's good to see you with those lovely windows behind you.
Yeah.
Do you?
There's always a story, isn't there? Always a story with me in our interviews. So no, I'm currently at a mate's house down at Stanwell Park, and it's beautiful. And but I forgot my hat. So he did give me a range of hats to try out, but they're just not quite me. But if you guys can, recognise me without a hat, then no stress. It's all good. And so, isn't that a lovely little pot with flowers in it?
It is. And I think you're distinctive enough without your hat, Luke, so we can handle it.
Thank you.
But I'll start by asking you, do you remember the first time you ever collaborated with Ashleigh Dallas?
The first time? Oh, hang on. Sorry, there's the alarm to say, I've got you coming up. Did that work?
It did.
Sorry. The first time, she was probably about 7 years old, and I was about 48. No, she's still so young, and she's the walking beam of sunshine. And my first memory of Ash was just she came up with the golden guitars, and she had her hair up in this these tiny little buns, and she's going, hello, she's only this big, little. And I said, wow, you're like a cute little Ewok, out of Star Wars. And she went, yeah. And we've been good friends ever since. And I just love her energy and her attitude to music and life. And it's just feels right, when you find that people in this planet, there's a lot of people on this planet, but there's very few that actually get me to begin with, my wicked sense of humor. And she's all over it. And so we found it really fun to collaborate, and that the planets just aligned with Long Way Round and her ability to dance. And I knew we could have a lot of fun with that, and the way that it connected with a lot of people out there. And particularly we're working with Jay Seeney, we were able to edit up a video that won us that golden guitar for video of the year. And I think people just felt that love and respect that we have for each other. And we always thought we'd like to do more. And then she was doing a writing exercise with a group of her friends, and we were just chatting one night, and she said, it's something about this could be my next best thing. And I'm just going, and as songwriters, you just wait for those bolts of lightning to strike, where you get a few words that paint a really big picture. And the double entendre of those few words, next best thing, it can mean a few different things. And I like that. And so I think I just hung up on it and said, I'll be in touch in a second, and I'd been mucking around. Old Patty Griffith had passed, and I was a massive fan of her and a particular song. And I was trying to work out one of her songs, Love at the Five and Dime. And it's a beautiful song for any of your listeners out there that don't know it. But she uses this really weird alternate tuning, and I was just mucking around with that. And I'd lucked into a really nice riff, which now features as the riff for Next Best Thing. And I called up Ash and said, look, you initially sparked this song off, and it's a quite nostalgic song where you think about the ebbs and the flows of things that are really important in your life. And as you grow older, you find that connection with usually your husband or your wife or the person that you want to lock on, your life partner, as being the ultimate next best thing in your life. And but as kids, it might be a skateboard or a surfboard or a bike or a dress or who knows what. And so, yeah, it touches on that, and it's a lot of fun from a boy's and a girl's perspective.
So you just mentioned the spark that happened for you when she said those words, next best thing. Is that usually how you write songs? You just collect those sparks and do something with them? Or sometimes do you just have to sit down and grind it out, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, look, every little snowflake's different, and same with songs. It's just... it can be like a lightning bolt where there's a couple of words that paint a very big canvas, or it can be something that you feel is really integral, a story to get out. There's one punishing me at the moment, just What We Have Left, it's called, just after reading a incredible book called Dharawal, and it talks about just how pristine and the utopian kind of ecosystem the Aboriginals are part of in this region, this part of the world where I am right now. And it's quite a very special part in Australia. And within a very short amount of time, we've done our best to really ruin a lot of it. And we've lost a lot of incredible things. The giant red cedars and a lot of the waterways and the coastlines have been irreversibly damaged, and it's a way that I think it's essential that we do look after what we still have and pass it on to our grandkids to make sure they can also feel just how special this part of the world is and how incredibly lucky we are to live in Australia. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so that's sorry, not a long way around of saying there's no two ways that songs come about, the same. Like some can morph out of a book that you read, or a word, or a conversation, or another lyric, or seeing somebody else play something. Anywhere, a coconut falling on your head, who knows?
But I guess that's also your commitment to staying open to those ideas coming to you, because I do think it can be a decision for an artist of staying open or being closed to things. And maybe it's also to do with what's going on in your life. You may not have the time or energy to pursue an idea when it comes, so you may have to close the gate for a while. But it does seem like you are fairly often open to ideas.
Yeah, well, that's the blessing and the curse of being a songwriter, because once one of those lines takes hold of you, then it's not going to let go. The muse is a very determined influence in your life, and when she strikes, she demands discipline in order to see it through. There's a hell of a lot of great musicians out there, and I suppose potential songwriters, that get a line and they say, I'll get back to that later on. But part of the craft and part of the wicker of songwriting is that you see it through, and it tortures you. It'll wake you up in the middle of the night and won't let go of you until you put the right series of words into a right phrasing, or there's just enough syllables for this line that ties up this key word at the end of the chorus. And it's those little things that do torture you at times, but do keep your brain focused on something other than what's on Netflix, or who's running in the third at Caulfield. It's just everyone's got their passions, everyone's got their things. Some people love Sudoku, some jigsaw puzzles, some crosswords. Mine's just songwriting.
Mm-hmm. But back to the collaboration with Ashleigh, I have noticed that when you collaborate with other artists, they tend to be golden guitar winners. Amber Lawrence, Dallas, Lynn Botel, you have set a very high bar with this.
Well, I'm just very grateful that people would like to collaborate with me. It includes me into worlds that are not normally my own, like with Mitch Lynham. It's he's a young horsebreaker from Gatton in South East Queensland, talking about, we were set up to write together a DAG Songwriters Retreat there, and coming from very different worlds. And by tapping into his experiences and his friends' experiences, we were able to create a pretty comprehensive song, which did connect with a lot of people out there and continues to. I get a lot of lovely messages, does Mitch, and Fred Smith, who inspired that song like a lot by his incredible album, The Dust of Years Gone. We really wanted to write to support those returned veterans where we feel they're not being supported by the government that trained them up and deployed them into these hellish holes, which led to the experiences that they had, which they find hard to let go, particularly once you try and assimilate back into this idealistic lifestyle that we have here. And particularly so if you're from South East Queensland, 1 in 4 people who enrol in the Australian Defence Force are from that region. So when you get the PTSD and the post-traumatic stress disorder, that greatly affects these individuals and then their family units and beyond, that affects communities as a whole and in that region. And, there's a lot of money that's spent in equipping and recruiting and deploying these people, but we need to see that investment reciprocated once they return and help them assimilate back into a normal lifestyle, and that's not happening. And so that's a long way around again of me saying that I'm very blessed to be included into people's worlds so that I can at least approach it with a slightly different perspective that might help connect the two worlds of people who are in that area, and to people who, like myself, are yet unaware of what that world's about. And that doesn't have to be about a returned veteran. That can be about being a rev head. It could be about being a miner. At the turn of the century, it can be about, being a line dancer. Who knows? It's just, it mixes it up. And that's what keeps it forever interesting to me. It's just different. And I feel very blessed to be able to do that.
Since we've been talking about South East Queensland, I will stay on that for a second and mention the video for which you won the Golden Guitar, which you co-directed with Jay Seeney. Now, the song itself is very powerful. And the first time I saw the video, and I have watched it several times because it's such an extraordinary piece of work and has such a massive impact, and I can't actually think of a video like it. And it intercuts footage from soldiers in the field with footage from South East Queensland, and that lifestyle you talked about. And it is shocking in a way. So it does do its job of shocking the viewer, I think, even if they hadn't heard the song first. I'm wondering if you had that concept from the start, since it was something that you and Jay created together.
Absolutely. Like it might go down in Golden Guitar history as having the first F-bomb dropped in it. But again, the deliberate choice of using a swear word is there to shock. And the story is shocking. The way that we deal with our returned veterans is shocking. What they've experienced overseas is shocking. The whole thing is meant to really confront and to break people out of their lounge rooms and into a world of empathy, where they can then add pressure upon their council members or their local member for Parliament to do something about supporting these veterans and family members, because they are in a horrible state of limbo, which is hell. A lot of them, they get you've got problems, but then they pass those problems on to the insurance companies, which then say, well, kids, you're on your own, and we'll drag this out for as long as possible. And if you decide to kind of take yourself out, well, that's one less payment that we have to worry about. It's that horrible. And so the only way that I thought we could share that experience, it was like, the visual is very, very powerful. And being a high school teacher, I realized that this generation coming through, really do resonate with the visual stimulus, where they can connect the lyric with the visual and the mental. And once you start seeing the helmet cam footage from these soldiers that they deliberately set up and they deliberately uploaded onto YouTube so that they could share what they were experiencing over there, so that we would have a better understanding. And I think Fred Smith says it best, he says, with our returned veterans, we don't have to lionize them. We don't have to pity them, but we do have to have some level of understanding so that we don't have another generation of lost Australians and strangers walking amongst us as we did with Vietnam. And if we're not going to learn from our mistakes from the past, then more fool us. We've let everybody down. So my job as a songwriter is to sing up our past so that we can learn from it, be that through songs like Happy Australia Day, be that things through like South East Queensland, be that through songs, I don't know, I seem to always be starting fights, but Sing You Up, and different areas where we have to start learning from the mistakes of the past. Even Hey Jumbala, talking about the constant corporate greed over the health and safety of our miners and our workers in our communities. It's just, it frustrates me when we don't learn from the mistakes of the past. And so, there's a massive part of my personality which is just about entertaining and making sure, and once upon a time I was about keeping the dance floors full, and it was about closing the crowbars up in Gympie. It was about making sure the BNSs and radios still went off and they drank a lot of rum. But as I've gotten older, that doesn't appeal. What appeals to me is writing a song with the lyrics that will strike a chord and connect deeply, that'll make somebody think and then hopefully then act to, for the betterment of this country and the next generations to follow.
But I still think you do that with a song like Next Best Thing, because the bigger project is documenting the human condition. And I don't think that's too big, grandiose a project or grandiose a term to say. I do think your work is about whether it's coastal town or whether it's open cut, or it's that you are finding these experiences to write about, and it's not necessarily about a field of war or a theatre of war, but it's just about being alive. It's about finding the lovely things in life and dealing with the difficult things. And I think Next Best Thing is an example of that. It's entertaining, it's meaningful, so it's meaningful entertainment, which is a great thing.
Thanks. Well, that's deliberate. So I'm glad you picked up on it.
Yeah.
So it's very satisfying when people like yourself and your listeners actually cotton onto that and just go, well, it's a light, happy song, but there is a little message if you want to take away from it as well. And there always is. And like, it's very true to my existence, man. There was cars, the freedom that was associated with a car was the next best thing, or the just traveling, seeing the world just to see what was around the next bend, what was the next corner. And that was the next best thing for me for ages. But as I said, as you grow and evolve, it's just ultimately it's love that means the most to you. And I know that can be as deep and as light as you want it to be. And so that's the trick of it.
It is, and it's writing it in a way that the listener can receive that and do what they want with it. Now, you mentioned driving cars. There is a car in the video for Next Best Thing, and which was also something you made with Jay Seeney. You co-directed with him. There was a car involved in Long Way Around, but not in the video so much as you and Ashleigh were driving around the countryside, going to multiple locations. Where was Next Best Thing filmed?
At the back of Appam. The reason I laugh so much is because I've got a lot of faith in my muses, as I mentioned before, and I was just going, I had a really great car lined up. And about a week and a half before the film shoot, the fella sold it. My mate sold it. He said it was too good a deal. And I went, no worries, the muses will come through. They do. And, like be it a train on an abandoned train line with Jay, asking me about that one, or a red Ford Falcon popping up out of nowhere. Like these magic things happen when you put your muses to the test. And so I don't doubt anymore. I just know it's going to happen. But this was the day before, and Ash is going, you got that car set? I'm going, yeah. Yeah, of course I do. And anyway, I made a couple of calls to mates who have mates who've got mates. And as luck would have it, there was a fella who is a mad collector of cars. And when I say mad collector, like a lot of cars and a lot of incredible cars. And he gave us a call and he says, my partner who's got these cars, he thinks that you could have been his school teacher. And so I was an old student of mine whose dad collected the cars. And he says, well, hey, yeah, no worries. He says, where are you doing the shooting? I said, up. And he said, oh, man, it's just up the road. He says, what do you want, a Ferrari? I said, a convertible. He said, well, you going for Ferrari or an old Rolls? And I went, same effect, I'm choking. And I said, oh, the Rolls sounds great. So the day before, he said, I'll drop around the mall. What time are you going to start? I said, 8 o'clock. He goes, no problem. And then, Ash is just shaking her head at me, just going, you're kidding. And I'm just going, well, of course. Yeah. Thank you. We're on track, and, the message is out there. But, it was a lot of fun just cruising around out at Britton Morrison's property out that way. And he's a beautiful family out there. They're very supportive. And working with Jay again is always wonderful. He's just such a professional and so can do. And all the planets aligned, so much so that we thought, well, why do one video in one day? So we did Next Best Thing that day. And then in the evening, we went down to Mount Kembla pub, where the ghost of Mickey Brennan hopefully was residing. Hopefully we released him with Zane Banks, who I co-wrote that song with, and we let his spirit out there and go on to the next chapter. That was the intention. But I'm waiting to hear back from the public and if he's still hanging around. But we got the 2 in the can on the one day, and full credit to Jay and the energy of Ash.
And I saw you two playing the night before that at the Beer Shed in Lumia, and it was a fantastic show. There was a lot of energy. You were talking about filming the next day. I can only imagine that when you do have a show like that, some of that energy carries through for you when you're filming.
Yeah, absolutely. It was such a fun show, and connecting with you people out there and with each other, and just the love of story and laughter that does come out. As I said, she's very mean to me. on stage.
Likewise.
And, no, me, no. So it's yeah, it's a lot of fun playing with those people that are as annoying and as kind of humorous as yourself.
So as I mentioned, you are a co-director with Jay of these videos. Is this a fairly recent development, or have you always been really involved with the video making process?
Always, yeah. No, there's a very clear visual image that comes along with songwriting. You know, as you're writing, you have to be able to see it in your mind's eye what it is that you're trying to achieve. And you know, that it's a cliche, but a picture can tell 1,000 words. And when you've got 3 minutes or 3.5, 4 minutes to tell a very big story, that visual stimulus can support that lyric very strong. And also, you know, a lot of my lyrics can be quite cryptic at times, which can lead the listener to kind of take a message two ways. But if you create just a little flash of an image there that can kind of lead them in the right direction or to the world where you're hoping they would go, then that's job well done. So I've always been very involved in the directing and the video clips. It's just the equipment and the editing that is another career. And when you find those people that can edit and have the right cameras and the know-how and the, you know, like in Jay's ability, that incredible catalogue of fantastic drone footage, etc., and drone shots, then that just takes your vision to a whole new level. And then combining that vision with somebody with those skills and also add it to their vision of what they hear and see in the song, then that's just a double whammy. And thankfully, what you've seen over the last couple of years is, you know, well, 2 for 2. That's pretty good going, given that we are independent and we haven't got the budgets of the major labels that we're taking on during these awards. And so it's very satisfying but humbling at the same time that it does work.
Yeah, you and Fanny Lumsden, you're going to be duking it out for Golden Guitars for Video for a while to come, I think. No, you're working towards the release of your new album, which is called Next Best Thing. Do you have the release date planned?
No, but I did do a photo shoot the other day, which will finalise the artwork for the new album, which has been one of the things that I've just been put. Well, I haven't got the new graphics yet, but no, I caught up with a great mate of mine, a great photographer, Toby Burrows, and so we got some new images in the can, so we can add that to the artwork and start the push. Because yeah, again, it's the platform's changed so much that people pretty much don't know what's going on anymore. So it used to be just about releasing the album and sharing that as fast as you could and letting people find their own singles, etc. But now, due to the digital platform that we listen to, Spotify and iTunes and Apple Music, all that, it's all about the single and focusing just on the single. But once that album's out, if you release it on the platforms, then there's not much interest in the single releases, and getting added to different playlists, etc., is essential to build those numbers and followings up. So it does confuse the matter, and it does delay the release of an album. But I think it's time. You know, I think the next single will be Darawal, and that's pretty powerful, and that's a good way to see the album through.
Yeah, I've heard you play that one live, and it is indeed a powerful song. But I can only imagine when you are used to the album release cycle, and as you said, releasing them, letting people find the singles, you're holding on now to songs for a long period of time. You might have recorded these quite a while ago, and you've got to release them slowly as singles and then release the album. Does that get a little frustrating?
Yes and no. Like, I've got other projects going on in the boil, and as I said, I'm still teaching 3 days a week and still doing the gigs around the joint and kind of, you know, exploring this country of ours as much as I can. So it's there's no real major rush. I'm not trying to kick down any major doors as I once was, I suppose. So it's just, I'm happy to go with the flow instead of trying to push it up the creek and, you know, up hills and stuff. So no stress. I'll just release this album and I'm ready to kind of almost start on the next project. That's the thing about writing all the time. You just kind of go, well, on with the next thing. I like creating. I just dislike the next mountains, which is the promo and the marketing and the talking. You know, like, even though I love speaking to you, of course, but it's one of those things where you go, I enjoy the process of creating in studio and music like a lot more.
Yeah. I totally understand, because doing this kind of thing it's a different set of activities, you know, from a different rhythm.
Yeah, it's essential. Like it really is essential to what we do. And I love people, and I love meeting kind of, you know, anybody who shares a passion is fascinating to me. And so when you get to talk about your own passion, like with you about songwriting and kind of the way certain songs can connect or where they come from, then hey, I can talk all day. So bring it on.
Well, I won't keep you talking all day because you probably have other things to do, but you did talk about gigs, and I am going to mention that you played at Hats Off to Country in Tamworth in July, and you had to change the venue because it wasn't big enough for the number of people who wanted to come and see you. How did it go, that show?
Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, no, it's always wonderful to play up there. It's a different festival, January to July, obviously. Yeah. January is like a marathon, 10 days of just chaos and people and shows and just run around like chooks with heads cut off. But July is very relaxed. It's pretty much just going up there and reconnecting with your artist mates and seeing their shows. And, you know, a lot of the shows are on at the same time, so that gets pretty confusing because there's only, you know, the Friday, the Saturday, and then the Sunday. So I just thought as a last minute that I'd throw in a lunchtime show, and it was lovely. It was nice and relaxed, and just really great to reconnect with that community and the people up there and the artists that, yeah, haven't seen some of them for quite some time due to those 3 years that we won't mention.
Yeah. But I mentioned you will be back for the marathon in January because you are a fixture of the January festival. I think you probably play more and longer shows than a lot of other artists just because you know, the Tamworth Workers Club, for example, you've been there for quite a while.
Yeah, Tamworth Services Club, absolutely. It's no, they're essential to me and me being a writer and being able to do what I do because they were the first believers to give us a space just to deliver the song, the original song, as opposed to just kind of being in so many. There's not a club or a pub in that town that I haven't played, and I'm really grateful for it. But the fact that we still continue to do a show each day is just a selfish thing from my perspective. People say you got to do the one big show and make it all la da da and like exclusive. And I don't do that. I finally got my band together, you know, from New Zealand, all over the different states around Australia, and we get all together. Last thing I want to do is one show. I want to play every day, and every single show is completely different, and it just leads us all on these journeys, and we all tap into the joy of playing music and stories, and each day the audiences are different, and that in turn has an effect on what we play and how we feel, and it's just gold. And man, I'd play twice a day if I had the fitness to do it, but as I used to, holy moly. But you know, it's one of those things. I just couldn't stand the thought of just doing the one or two shows. It's just I'm there to tap into the joy that is Tamworth and to play and tell stories and to have as much fun as humanly possible, and we do.
And I wouldn't mind betting you have audience members who come to more than one show, if not every show that you play.
No, greatly humbled by our supporters and our followers. You know, we're talking decades now. We're talking 25 years of just backing us. You know, yeah. Even when we didn't, you know, think that we had a gig there, they'd find us somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I think they back you for very good reason, Luke. That's because your shows are always entertaining, meaningful entertainment, as I said, and also pretty hilarious. And your songs are wonderful as well. I look forward to the next song and then the album. But for the moment, we have the next best thing. So thank you very much for your time talking about it.
No worries. And if you're heading down Kangaroo Valley in October, I'll see you there. We're playing the folk festival down there, and that's going to be something special as well.
Well, I will put that date and link with this interview.
That'd be wonderful.
Thanks, Luke.
Oh, my pleasure, Soph. And thanks for that, mate. My phone's just about to die as per usual, but no, your patience with me and your support is greatly appreciated. And thank you again for all you do for us.
My absolute pleasure.